It was 6 a.m. in the morning when Mrs. Williams heard a knock on her door. She stood up to put on something decent. The knocking became more loud and was a bit annoying for her. She screamed, "Why do you want to bring down my door?" Two men from the door outside chorused, "We are so sorry, ma. We have been knocking for a while now. It's an emergency, ma." At this point, Mrs. Williams jumped to the door and opened the door as far as she could. She saw her husband laying on the floor lifelessly. Lots of emotion ran through her mind in few seconds. She didn't know if she should scream or to be calm. She almost fell on the floor. She calmed down and noticed her husband was moving, and she screamed, "He's moving." The guy said, "Yes, he is alive. We actually saw him rolling in the gutter outside the main gate of the street very early in the morning. Passerby recognized him and described his house for us. That is why we have brought him to you, ma." A second look at him, Mrs. Williams noticed that he was truly drenched, and she started noticing funny smell as she moved closer to him. It was obvious that he was alive at this point. Then he started talking, and he wasn't coherent. He was saying things like, "That 12 bottles of beer no fit shark me where I did drink one crate." At this point, Mrs. Williams realized that her husband was drunk and obviously spent the night in the gutter. Mrs. Williams said, "But you said you were on night shift, eh? Daddy Tolani." Mr. Williams replied, "Which night shift? Job where they don't tell me not to come again." Apparently, Mr. Williams had been laid off from work because of his bad drinking habits. His company couldn't tolerate such because he works with heavy-duty machines, and it is so dangerous to handle such machine under the influence of alcohol. So to avoid casualties, they terminated his appointment. Mrs. Williams thanked the two men that brought her husband. They were kind enough to help him to the bedroom. Mrs. Williams felt so embarrassed and was so sad. Apart from all the emotions she felt, she also felt a huge guilt from her past that only her can explain. Mr. and Mrs. Williams have been married for 7 years. They have 2 beautiful children who are twins, a boy and a girl, named Tolani and Timileyin. Mrs. Williams in deep sorrows as she thinks about what happened earlier in the morning. She doesn't know her husband to be someone that drinks to the point of getting drunk. Mrs. Williams was in deep thought that her daughter called her severally before she heard her, and she replied, faking a smile. She said, "Yes, my darling, what is it?" Tolani said, "Mommy, why are you not answering me?" The mother said, "I'm so sorry, my dear. I'm thinking about some things, but don't worry." And so Tolani said, "Mommy, I am hungry." So Mrs. Williams stood up to make lunch for Tolani. As days passed, days turning into years, Mr. Williams' drinking habits became so bad that he comes back home drunk every blessed day. It became a normal thing at this point. Mr. Williams had obviously given up on life. He was jobless. All he does every day is to get drunk, and he always steals his wife's money to buy himself drinks. He would come home drenched in dirty water. It became normal that people would come and drop Mr. Williams by their doorstep. Mrs. Williams would just open the door early in the morning, so whenever they dropped Mr. Williams by the door, he would just push the door and stagger inside and lay down on the living room floor. Sometimes he would even vomit everywhere. This kept on going on for years. When the kids were younger, Mrs. Williams was able to hide it from the twins, but as they grew up and became self-aware, they realized that their father was an irresponsible man and a drunkard. Mrs. Williams has been the breadwinner of the family. She provides for the family with the salary she earns. She works with the state government and she tries all her best to provide for her children. She's always paying one loan or the other just to make ends meet. Years passed and still her condition hasn't changed. Timileyin, her son, was doing excellently well at school, while Tolani, on the other hand, was a below average student. Even though they were twins, they were really different. Timileyin is reserved, smart and always contented, while Tolani is an extrovert, picky and always never satisfied with whatever their mom buys for them. Even though Tolani knew her mother was practically a single parent because their father was jobless and he was always stealing their mother's money to drink. At this point, Mr. Williams has become the object of ridicule to the point that sometimes his children will be coming back from school and they will see their father drunk, laying on the roadside, creating a scene. In fact, neighbors got tired of taking him to his house. Nowadays, they just leave him laying down on the road. It was always embarrassing for the children, but still, Timileyin would try to help his father home, while Tolani would ignore and keep walking as fast as she could. She would say, "I can't be seen with such embarrassment." At this point, Tolani and Timileyin were in SS3, preparing for their final exams, both turning 16 by the 13th of the next month, which was July. Their exam results came out and Timileyin made all his papers. He got admission on merit into the state university. He was admitted to study his dream course, which was medicine and surgery. Tolani had to rewrite her exams. She eventually got admitted the following year. Tolani, being an extrovert, made new friends immediately at school. One of the friends she made was Ego Ogochukwu. Ego was a very smart, beautiful girl, and she's also from a rich home. From the way she dresses, you could tell. Everyone loved her because she was humble and everyone wanted to be her friend. She even has a car and a personal driver that drives her around only when she is at home. Her parents didn't like the idea of her staying in the school hostel, but she convinced them to let her stay and promised to be on her best behavior. Ego was quite popular for her looks. She's really pretty and very noticeable. She's very, very fair. Her classmate sees her and calls her Yellow Pawpaw and she would just laugh. She was also known by all her lecturers because of her exceptional academic prowess. She was every lecturer's delight. Tolani and Ego's friendship kept on growing and they became inseparable. And they were coincidentally both allocated same room. It made them grow closer. Ego was such a generous friend, especially to Tolani. It was a very hot Saturday afternoon in the hostel. It was mid-semester and so they were preparing for their upcoming tests. They both didn't go home. They were preparing rigorously for their test. Ego and Tolani were having like a small revision stroke tutorial when her phone rang. It was a call from Ego's mom. She said, "Hello, mommy," and her mom replied by saying, "Hello, my love. How are you? Have you eaten this afternoon? Do you need anything? I just cooked your favorite, fried rice. I already asked Mr. Musa to bring some for you. I know it's test week and I don't want you to starve. I also added lots of grilled chicken for you." Ego said, "Thank you, mommy. That's so kind of you." Tolani whispering at the background, "Extend my love to her. Tell her I am greeting her as well." Ego's mom, Mrs. Ogochukwu, said, "I can hear Tolani's voice. How is she? Let me speak to her." They both exchanged pleasantries and Tolani said, "Thank you for the other day, ma." And they hung up the call. Ego is as generous as her parents. Ego's parents even send pocket money to Tolani whenever they send to Ego too, since they know Tolani as Ego's best friend. The semester ended and Ego made all A's in all her results. Tolani's result wasn't that bad, although average, At least she didn't fail any course. Ego makes sure she tutors her specially in courses that she finds difficult. Tolani and Ego's friendship has really impacted Tolani positively. And so the holiday started. After Tolani spent 2 weeks at home, she went to Ego's house to spend a week, and Ego also returned the favor. As close as they were, both families haven't had the opportunity to meet. They only talk on the phone casually. Every time Ego's mom comes to drop her off at Tolani's place, Tolani's mom is always at work, so they only had the opportunity to speak on the phone. The girls were enjoying their holidays, and Ego's birthday was forthcoming. She was turning 18. Her parents had big plans for her. They already told her it was going to be a big party. Ego was so excited. Tolani and Ego started preparations in their own little way. They started shopping online for dresses. They picked the best dresses. Ego also picked beautiful dresses for Tolani too. They hired the service of the best makeup artists and stylists. A day to the party, they went on a spa date to relax and get some pampering. Tolani and Ego couldn't wait for tomorrow to come. The excitement didn't make them sleep on time. They kept on trying on all the outfits and giggling. The atmosphere was filled with lots of excitement. It was finally the D-Day. It was indeed a luxurious party. One of the best event places was hired for the event. The decoration was top-notch. The chef hired were celebrity chefs. Ego arrived the event in a limousine. It was really a great event. There was surplus foods and drinks. Everyone had fun. Ego got lots and lots of gifts. Her parents presented her with the latest Ford SUV. She really enjoyed her day. Her party was the gist on everyone's lips for weeks. After the party, Ego noticed that Tolani was a bit distant. But Tolani kept on saying it was because she was busy, that she got an holiday job. She said, "You know, I'm not an OBU or Mobabolo like you," and they both laughed. Unknown to Ego that Tolani was only lying, she was just looking for means to avoid Ego. It was very early on a Saturday morning when Tolani's mom noticed that Tolani was talking alone, and she moved closer to Tolani. She was still talking alone, and she sounded very angry. Her mom said, "Tolani, what is the problem?" She started talking and complaining how proud and pompous Ego has started acting towards her since she got a new car, which is not true. In fact, recently, Ego has been the one reaching out to Tolani every now and then. Tolani's mother said, "Calm down. But since you've been friends, you've never mentioned that Tolani has ever wronged you or anything." She asked Tolani if she has tried to talk to Ego about how she feels. Tolani lied and she said that the day she spoke to her about it, she screamed at her and she was very rude to her. Tolani was only looking for a way to justify her anger. Everything she told her mom on that day was a lie. Her mom was surprised to hear that. She said, "Well, she's your best friend, and I know you guys will work things out." Dear viewers, I know you are wondering where all this anger is coming from. At this point, guys, please kindly subscribe, like. I would really appreciate that. You won't believe that Tolani was angry because she didn't get to ride with Ego in the limousine on her birthday. Can you imagine? Since then, hatred and jealousy for Ego has grown in Tolani's heart. A friend she once cherished has now turned to someone she envies so much. You would think that how will she let something that small annoy her that much? My dear viewers, hatred's venom spread like a deadly disease. Jealousy's flame, once sparked, burns out of control. It consumes souls and causes destruction. No good comes out of it. Ego called the following morning. Tolani answered in a cold voice. Ego didn't think much of it because she felt she was at work, hence why she sounded that way. Ego said, "How is work, my love?" Tolani answered reluctantly, "Fine." Ego said, Please send that beautiful picture of me you took, the one with my parents. Tolani said okay and hung up the call even before Ego finished talking. Ego on the other hand felt it was network issue and didn't want to call her back because she felt she was at work. Tolani angrily sent the picture. Unknown to her, it was her mom that received the picture. Tolani's mom received the picture and called Tolani immediately. She said, "Are those Ego's parents?" Tolani said, "Who?" Tolani's mom said, "You sent me a picture." That was when Tolani realized she made a mistake. And Tolani said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, mommy. I wanted to send it to Ego, not you, ma." Tolani's mom said, "We need to talk when I get back from work." So, Ebuka and Lade think they can get away with what they did. Look at me. I ended up with a useless drunkard. And look at them, obviously living their best life. Because I see pictures that Tolani takes in their mansion. See the car that Ego, their daughter, drives. I will deal with them. That was Tolani's mom talking to herself. And immediately, Mrs. Williams started feeling this unexplainable anger and hatred towards them. When Mrs. Williams came back from work, she called Tolani. Mrs. Williams was looking so hungry. Tolani said, "Mommy, are you okay? What's the problem, ma?" She said, "Don't worry, I am fine. I'm just a bit stressed from work." Tolani offered to bring her mom some food. She said, "Don't worry, that will be later." Mrs. Williams said, "Remember, I said we need to talk." And Tolani said, "Yes, mommy, I remember." And Mrs. Williams said, "Do you know that Mr. Ogochukwu was supposed to be your father?" Tolani, looking so confused, "What do you mean, mommy?" Mrs. Williams said, "I will explain all this when the time is right." And she said, "So you said Ego was rude to you, right? So I think we need to teach her a lesson." At this point, Tolani didn't even think about it before she screamed, Yes, I think so. I think we need to teach her a lesson, mommy." Because jealousy had eaten too deep into her that she couldn't even think straight. And Mrs. Williams said, "Bring me Ego's dress and it is done." And Tolani said, "Is that all, mom?" She said, "Don't worry, mommy, I will get it." It was a new school year, and this time around, Ego and Tolani were in different hostels. Ego and Tolani saw each other and they hugged. Tolani playing along like she's cool with her so she can carry out the instruction given to her by her mother. She followed Ego to her hostel. As Ego was arranging her wardrobe, she sighted a beautiful dress and she said in her mind that this dress is perfect for the plan. She quickly rushed towards the dress and said, "Wow, this dress is so beautiful." And Ego said, "You like it? I would have given it to you, but it's a gift from my uncle who lives in Germany." Tolani said, "Ego, please can I borrow this dress? I have an outing that it is perfect for, and I hope you've worn it before. I don't want to be the first person to wear it." And Ego said, "Yes, of course, I have worn it." And so Ego agreed to borrow her, and Tolani took the dress to her mother. A few weeks later, Ego kept having strange dreams, and it was so bad that she would always wake up sweating and screaming. So my dear viewers, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Tolani overreacted? Do you think that she wasn't supposed to get so angry over that small issue? Or do you think her anger was justified? Or do you think she never loved Ego all along? She was just friends with her because of the benefit that she gained from her. Kindly pen down your thoughts in the comment section. And please remember to like and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.